Hey everyone, my name is Andrew Davis and you are watching Conversations in Pop Culture, brought to you by my sponsor, Mixum Printing, the smarter way to print. I know printing your creative project can be confusing and stressful, but Mixum is here to make it easy. From their instant quote calculator that lets you get as many quotes as you want for free to their 24-hour customer service support, Mixum is here to make sure your printing experience runs smoothly from start to finish. And right now you can choose from a range of premium printing options and materials. And the company has also printed so many successful Kickstarter campaigns, and a bunch of them you have even heard about on this very show. And obviously my guest has a relationship with Mixum as well, so that's something to pay attention to, and I'm sure we're going to may or may not talk about that. So they right now actually offer services in the United States, Canada, Australia, and the UK, and Mixum can print and reach your audience anywhere in the world. So if you're ready to print smarter, not harder, head over to Mixum.com. And right now they're running a promotion where listeners on my show can drop my name, Andrew Davis, in the message tab of a current order to get a 5% discount on their very first order. So that's Mixam.com. Type my name, Andrew Davis, in the message tab to get a 5% discount on your first order. And I have with me comic creator and writer, the Indie Princess Lola. So welcome to the show.
Hello, thanks for having me.
Yeah, no, I'm super excited because obviously I've seen you around a bunch of times.
I am everywhere. Oh my God. I'm everywhere.
Yeah, no. And it's weird because, I see a bunch of people, but then I haven't connected with all of these people before. And I'm seeing people pop up. I see their projects popping up all the time. And it's so weird for me. And I like to think that I'm connected. And clearly I am not. Or the other side, or what it can be, is that there's just so many people that there's no way you can possibly get to everybody. It's one or the other, but I digress. I digress right there, and I do want to talk about your Kickstarter, which, I think you're fully funded at this point, so the project's going to happen with Lore. But what is the basic premise for those who have not seen it yet, have not backed yet, haven't heard about it, and all that stuff?
So it is basically Saw meets Eyes Wide Shut. It's an 80-page adult graphic novel. It's about a couple who go to adult parties, and the wife's goal is to get into an all-exclusive party called Lore. They finally get the invite, and they wish they never went.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on in your book, and
Oh yeah,
we're going to get to some of it. Some of it we're going to get to, some of it I don't want to ruin per se. But where did the idea for this come about? Because obviously it's got a little bit of a kinky feel to it. It's got a very suspenseful feel to it. And it's also got a little dark stuff going on in it. And so what is the inspiration for this book? Because there are books that are similar to this, but there are also few and far in between.
So this book is kind of personal to me. A lot of people know, not everybody knows. When I was 18, I was kidnapped, and I got to see the underbelly of society. So I had PTSD from it, and writing is a way to get my feelings and emotions out of me. I mean, they're not gone, but it's just a quick release for it. And yeah, that's how Lore came about. I put some experiences that I saw and everything mixed with exaggeration, and that is Lore.
Mm-hmm. And even to go further into all this, because obviously I know a lot of people who are obviously involved in the porn industry and involved in a variety of other issues and other segments of society, and have been abused, and a variety of other mishaps, for lack of a better word here. And a lot of other traumatic events have happened to people, where people sort of get tracked down a certain path and it happens. And obviously most people, I don't think, know much about it, and a variety of other stuff. But obviously to further go into the story here, we have a very interesting set of characters. So the first one is Chastity, who is very much a high-class woman. In a lot of ways, she's hypersexual, and she really enjoys being a swinger. She enjoys, having sex with other people, and she wants her husband to do the same. And what was that like really building her out? Because she is very much into it and very forceful and really is very dominating and domineering in the relationship in a lot of ways.
It was fun creating her. Um, yeah, her attitude is horrible. She's spoiled. And it was just a lot of fun. I mean, it was fun creating all the characters. It was a way to get my mind off reality for a little bit, but also some reality did go into the book. So at certain times I did have to stop writing because I had flashbacks of what happened to me. But I enjoyed writing it.
Because it's very interesting for me because obviously seeing a very spoiled but also very I don't know exactly what the correct word for her is per se, but really strong personality and really driven to be invited into this party.
She wants to be the center of attention, and she's a spoiled, stuck-up bitch. That's the way to put it.
See, I don't want to say anything wrong here. That's the problem. It's like, if I go say it, it could go one way or the other for me. But if you say it, then I can say it right afterwards and you get away with it. So clearly, like this makes it so much easier now for me to say that. And obviously her counterpart is Zach, who obviously is a high-end accountant, deals with a lot of people's money.
Yes.
I think he's very good at his job. He has certain clientele, and I don't think it's a secret, but rich people have weird traits they do. Rich people have a lot of secrets apparently because they don't know what to do with their money. I don't know if anybody ever heard of just having a nice house on a ranch and being left alone.
I mean, all his money goes to Chastity. He does anything he can to keep her. So that's why he goes to these parties and does whatever she wants.
And it's very interesting because relationships are complicated in a lot of ways, where people concede ground. Certain people also, not to put Zach down, but he in a lot of ways might be playing above his league with Chastity as appearance-wise. And then also he is very subservient to her and is semi-submissive to her as well in a lot of ways. And what was this like? Because there's a real power dynamic or power play being put into this relationship. And it's very interesting what's going on.
She's the dominant one. Zach is submissive. He gives into whatever she wants. I mean, there are parts where he tries to stand up to her, but in the end, it doesn't work out.
Yeah, and obviously this even goes further down the line because as we sort of get into it, obviously Chastity is very happy to get invited to this party.
Mm-hmm.
And then they meet, certain people. They meet a guy named, what?
Blair is the mastermind behind everything.
Yeah, let's talk about Blair because Blair obviously sort of knows some stuff that's going on and certain things are in play, not in play. What does Blair know? What doesn't Blair know? What is the intention of Blair and all that stuff because it's very interesting who Blair is.
So Blair has these guys that go to like the normal adult parties and scope out people. And the first step to get into lore is to get an invite to Club Fusion. And people will see Club Fusion on my campaign. That's the first club they get into. And that is where they meet Blair and get the invite to lore. There's Club Fusion.
Yeah, so even to talk about that because that's very much an interesting thing where that happens and that idea of scouting happens.
Mm-hmm.
And it happens when people go out and say, hey, I'm looking for talent in a movie. I'm looking for the next rapper. I'm looking for the next, comic person because that's happening on indies. And well, it happens in every other segment in life.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a very interesting component because I don't think people understand how the underworld works and how things happen, and even how the porn industry works, where people do get scouted, and it's a
Yes.
very, very complicated situation. And it's some people don't want to talk about, because let's be realistic, this isn't a fun topic to talk about. And it's also, people say, look, I want to watch a television show, and I don't want to deal with this, or I want to watch the Squid Game instead. And so it's very interesting that you throw that in there, and that it's a very real thing, and it's sort of something we don't talk about. And I find that to be very interesting because it adds an element of realness to the book, that
Yes.
if you want it and you want to know more about things, sort of, it's an impetus, and it gives insight into something bigger.
Yeah, you're totally right. Scouting is a major part of the underbelly of society. I mean, you won't even know you're being scouted for the most part. You just might meet a person, they got an awesome personality, and you think they're your friend, and they have hidden agenda.
Yeah, and then obviously this sort of is how this goes down,
Hmm.
where obviously I don't know if Zach is being scouted, but Chastity definitely seems to be scouted, and that's
They
the
both are.
and so obviously that is sort of where it goes. And then, well, fast forward, not to sort of spoil anything, but they get an invite to Club Lore, or
Hmm.
Lore, and I guess it's an event invitation, I want to say. And then, well, they sort of wake up in a cage. They've probably most likely been drugged, and shit's on.
Yes.
And I don't know the full extent of what happens, but let's just say that we're now in the underbelly, and I think it's safe to say that there are two tracks that people go on once they're in this. They are the entertainment aspect of it, and then there are buyers, for lack of a better word. And so, and then it becomes a very interesting situation with how does this all play out now. And so, what was that really like? Because there's only a little bit, and this is really the entrance point to a much larger circumstance that's going on, and that I need to go find some money to actually back your project. So we're curious now.
So when they get to Lore and they wake up in the cage, I really can't give much away. Let's just say that's where the saw part comes into play, the eyes wide shut comes into play. So there's a lot of torture, uh, twists and turns. You don't know what's going to happen.
And so even to write about this, because once that happens, really, I think the first 10 pages are really the setup for, I think, the next 70 or so.
Hmm.
I think it's 80 pages, your
It
book.
is 80 pages. Yep.
And so that's really the setup, and it's kind of a slow 10 page burner that then opens up into a much larger circumstance. And now we're dealing with physical issues, we're dealing with mental issues, we're dealing with uncertainty, a lot of suspense. And what is that like to really write that? Because it is tricky to keep somebody guessing. I mean, I'm at the stage as a comic reader that it is very hard for me to be surprised at this point of reading comics now for almost 16 years, and reading a lot of comics thoroughly, doing it. I'm also an anime spoiled, guy where I watch a lot of anime, and I watch a lot of storytelling, and I watch a lot
Hmm.
of wrestling. And WWE, whether you like wrestling or not,
I watch wrestling, so
it's storytelling.
yeah.
And so at a certain point, WWE can only tell the same story so many times before they start
Yes.
repeating it. And it's the same thing with comics. And so what is this like? Because this, obviously, stories have been done similar, but again, I've seen very few and far in between, particularly dealing with more on the kink side of things.
It was fun to write. When I was writing, I had the reader in mind. So I wanted to please the reader, have the reader guessing, be attached to the characters because I was attached to them. So as I'm writing what happens to him, it was I mean, it was emotional for me too.
Yeah, no, because I've read parts of it and what's available, and even just keeping the suspense up. Because
Yeah.
to me, that's what really gets it going and gets it moving. Because that's what I want, and obviously, I like not knowing where a book is going in a lot of ways, and
Mhm.
even understanding, saying, "Hey, I understand that I want to give my reader something, but I want to flip this up, and then I want to add the consequence of life and death in there as well,
Yep.
where obviously there is going to be consequences for these characters,
Oh,
whether
there
they
will be.
both live, whether they both die, whether one of them lives or dies, who lives and dies, who suffers, who has lasting consequences, who has temporary. And so obviously this is not a happy ending story, for lack of a better word. And it's going to get very, very interesting with that. And so obviously, that's something that, what is that like too, because, for you to write, because it is fun when things don't get wrapped up neatly in a bow.
Yeah, I wrote something that I would enjoy reading too. So I put stuff that I enjoyed writing. But I mean, like I said, it was therapeutic to me. So I just was just writing down my feelings, uh, stuff like that to get it out of my head. And it
Yeah,
turned out to be really good.
yeah. I like how you said that too. That's funny. That's funny because sometimes when we write, it's not good, and sometimes you can keep having to go back to the drawing board. Believe me, I've written things way too many times. I just had an assignment 2 weeks ago for work that I legitimately spent 7 hours writing, and it was not a very good piece, but it had to get in, and the
That-
self-reflection piece. So that explains.
no, I hate those. I'm in college right now, and oh my god, I hate those.
I'm not a feely, touchy guy. Like, I'm really not. I don't mind breaking down a book. I don't mind breaking something down, but I don't want to write about me directly. So there you go. And then
Exactly. I mean, when I did my Indiegogo, I did have people come at me and say that this book was all me. No, it's not. The next book I'm doing, yes, I'm doing an autobiography comic book about my experiences. But this book, it helped me get through what I was going, I am going through.
even to further go into writing, because I thoroughly enjoy writing, and I think that writing is beyond therapeutic.
Hmm.
In which that obviously, I don't write directly about me. I've dealt with a bunch of crazy shit in my life. Obviously, not to get too much into my world, but when I was 17, I had a pretty life changing surgery, and I was bit and red for about 8 weeks. I couldn't move back into the
Wow.
hospital bed, and then got transported back to my house and a lot of pain, and I'm dealing with the consequences still. So when
Hmm.
I write, I find it very therapeutic, just from a brain exercise.
Hmm.
Also, obviously, personality naturally comes out in writing.
Hmm.
I'm very much an aggressive writer, and I tend to have aggressive word stances, and all that stuff. And so obviously, I think writing for some people helps us deal with issues, and it really is important that people write all of that.
Yeah,
And
and
so
it
it's
kept my
very.
mind busy. I mean, I did have some emotions and some flashbacks because of it, obviously, but it kept my mind busy. And I was excited to write it. Like, okay, what's gonna happen next? Let's see what I can do with this character or that character. And it was fun.
And even going further into this, because obviously this book, since you're writing an autobiography comic about who you are, and that's obviously going to be very much about everything that you went through. What is that like for you to sort of dip your toe in the water initially, and then sort of say, okay, look, let me write something that's more, a fiction tone with realism put in place. but not fully exactly what happened and about me. And let me just experiment and see if this is even a possibility. And then also sort of tip your toe in and say, look, I can handle this, or I can handle parts of
Mhm.
this. And then you're slowly building up, because obviously, I equate this to weight training, where you don't start benching 400 pounds out of nowhere. You
Yeah.
start off with, 50, and you go to 60, and you slowly build up. And even with, me as an interviewer, I was doing one interview a week. It took me, 6 years to start getting to two. And then now I'm doing 3 or 4. Sometimes I do 5 a week. But I didn't just come swinging out of the gate.
Yeah.
And so, what is that like for you to sort of build up to that? Because whether people admit it or not, you need to build up to certain things and skill sets. And you also need to say, hey, look, what could I handle mentally? Because
Exactly. That was the real test. I felt like if I could get lore done and people reacted well to it, then I could move forward into uh, showing people what I actually went through. And I've gotten lots of support. A
I was
lot of
about to
people
ask
support
that.
me, and they're ready for my autobiography.
Yeah, I was about to ask that also. Is the idea is that how much pushback or how much support you're going to get, and how many people you have rooting for you with
I
this?
have I have a lot of people that support me, and yeah, I have a lot of support behind my autobiography. People are there if I need to talk to someone. My husband is my backbone. I mean, when I was writing lore, he's like, "Are you sure you want to do this?" And I was like, "Yeah, I do." And he was there for me.
And to talk about that, even because that's obviously very important, is that understanding that support is there if you
Hmm.
need to lean on it, knowing that there's obviously a lot more people rooting for you than going against you, and just saying, hey, look, I got people in my corner. Obviously, that helps tremendously. Even just knowing it's there, let
Hmm.
alone relying on it, or let alone having to utilize it. It changes the way you write. When you have people who are willing to champion for you, obviously you know that you have a backbone, and it's very important. It changes the way you do things, and obviously this, I think, really was helpful to you in that regard
It
in a
is.
lot of ways.
And I let a couple people read like the first 5 pages of my autobiography. Uh, they said it was really dark, but it was good. So, and they told me to keep going.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. I'm gonna enjoy it. I don't know. I don't know if I should say that, but that could be completely misconstrued right there. So having said that, I am curious though as well, because obviously we are now entering the world of kink, and we're writing, and obviously there's some people you may or may not like who talk about this on every Friday night. And obviously, I'm gonna say who it is because it's not bad. Rob Anderson definitely talks a lot about this stuff, and I
Oh
agree
yeah.
with I agree with some of what he says, and I disagree with others. But the idea is that he talks a lot about sort of kink writing. Obviously, I come from the world. One of my favorite books is Bang Tango, which deals with very much fetish, and I do like Swingers by, I think, said C. I can't think of who did Swingers. Actually, it's a great book. Matt Hawkins was involved in that book, and I
Okay.
love Matt Hawkins' work. Think Tank is one of my favorite books of all time. Um, but even still, what is that like for you to write in that realm? Because I'm a big Bukowski fan, so I love Dirty Reels. That's another area that I absolutely adore as a reader and as somebody who reads a lot of books. And so obviously there is a way how to write Dirty Reels, write kink, write fetish, but also not
Hmm.
make it about the fetish, but make the
Yeah.
fetish almost like a background character and a
Hmm.
vehicle to explain what's going on versus having pure smut, because then it's just porn in reality.
Yeah. It is fun for me. I got a lot of books, titles that I'm going to be working on that dive more into the fetish world. So I have one title that's actually gonna have 69 books under it.
So explain what you mean by that. Is it going to be 69 issues? Is it
It
going to
is
be
69 issues.
because when people say books under something, and this is just how I assume and play with it is that I know people who build worlds.
Hmm.
So I am in the process of launching a Kickstarter, and somebody has in the first arc of their universe, they have 12 titles, but they're not all the same story, but they're all next to each other somewhat, and they're all in the same world. So is this just going to be a
No,
69?
is one title, but 69 issues of it.
I have no words for that because that's a lot. I am the guy who likes a 4-issue miniseries, like because the thing is that I get bored with having to go and make a commitment for legitly 5 years,
But
and every month
my issues are going to be standalone issues. So you can pick up like issue 2 and what you don't have to read issue 1. Just trust me on this one. I already thought about it all. It's going to work.
I'm just saying that for me as a reader, I'm going to get lost in all the shuffle, and I also am very much a completist, and it's a problem. I have a hard time not being a completist, and it could be my OCD, it could be something else, it could just be that that's just the way I am, and I'm also a very linear person, you know.
Hmm.
For me, I need almost to start at issue 1, or I need to start at issue 50. I need to start at really a jumping on point. And it's hard for me to just come in and out of stories like that. That's personally me. I believe it will work, though. I believe
It
it will
will.
work. I have complete faith in all of this. So obviously, I have complete faith in all of that. So that should be very interesting. And obviously, even going further, so obviously, I do want to talk a little bit about inside baseball, going beyond just the, I guess, story, because I don't want to ruin anything. I don't want to ruin anything yet. And I actually want people to back this. But I know that you've done this not in 2 or 3 issues, but as a 80-page graphic novel, as an 80-page one shot, as an 80-page mini graphic novel. We could call it whatever it is, but I'm curious the rationale and reasoning behind that, because that's very much a new thing in indie right now, and even in mainstream, is long form content. And I'm curious as to what made you want to do it that way, and also practical uses of that, because it's very much a shift that's happened and started, I think, almost this year.
Yeah. Lore did not work out as single issues. I couldn't make it work. It had to be told all at once.
Yeah, so even going further into that, because I haven't written a comic, so I'm gonna ask a semi, I guess non-comic writer question at this point, where some stories work straight up best, and some stories probably work and can be broken down. And I would imagine, and correct me if I'm wrong, that this story, and you probably tried, right? To say, hey, look, let me see if I can break it into 2 issues. Let me see if I can break it into 3 issues, because it gets complicated with costs and having to pay for everything up front, and also just all the writing, and also seeing, even testing it. Because if you go out there and you throw out a 24 issue and it bombs, you didn't invest a lot into it. You didn't invest a lot of time, effort. You didn't have to, go out there and hustle it, and take a bigger risk, for lack of a better word. So obviously, what was sort of factoring in, knowing that you couldn't break it up, and then having to handle all of that side of it? Because this is your first Kickstarter, so that you did by yourself and not having.
This is my first book. altogether. I've been publishing. I've been on the publishing side for 11 years now. So this is my first book. Uh, I wrote it, created it, and the only thing that really came into play was, okay, let me find someone that's willing to draw 80 pages. And luckily, a friend of mine, Dave Brown, he signed on for it, and he drew it and colored it.
Yeah, and even that, because obviously drawing 80 pages and outlaying capital for that, and also time, and also, because some, I mean, I would imagine that some people might say, look, 80 pages, I'm in, because now I don't have to worry about it as far as if it ends a bigger job versus 24 pages. And that, I would imagine for some people it works really well. And some people say, look, it is, I could bang out 24 pages really quickly, and I want 3 or 4 jobs, and I just want to get more marketing out to some degree as well. And I think slightly different than other people think per se is that. So what was that like in that relationship? Because obviously handing somebody 80 pages can go one of two ways for them technically.
I mean, the communication between me and Dave it was great. I sent him the script. I sent him references for certain things, how I wanted certain things to look, and he knocked it out of the park. Every page was good. I had no complaints. And I also gave him basically, I told him he could do what he wanted with each panel as long as the stuff in the script were there. So, I mean, he put his own take on it too.
Yeah, and I think that that's very important that a lot of people don't understand. And obviously, every writer is different. Some writers are very hands-on with what they want. Obviously, I again am going to be at some point on the writing side if I ever choose to book a comic.
Mhm.
Obviously, I have other things going on. I also have other parameters that need to be filled within my life before I can go invest money into a comic per se. Obviously I got to max out my 401k and my IRAs and other, I guess, economic positions. Just because 90% of comic creators do not recoup the money they invest in books. And then most people are not around for, I think, a year, let alone for 5 years. It is a tough, brutal space. And that number doesn't just apply to comics, it applies to business collectively. It is a very tough space to be in. And so people who are around, and obviously Indie Volt and you and Varian have been around forever. Not forever, not forever.
Indie Volt has been around for 4 years now. My husband's been in the industry since 2008. Then when I met him in 2010, he introduced me to the world of comics. I knew nothing about it. And he had a company going, and then he decided to close that one up. And in 2012, he wanted to quit altogether. And I told him, no, we're going to do this. So that's how Last Call Comics came to be. And so Last Call has been around since 2012. And that is our publishing company. So, I mean, we've always had our hand in something. And now we got Indie Volt. I got my adult branch off of Last Call Comics, which is Shocker Comics. And we got our distribution now, Liberty Entertainment Distribution.
Yeah, and we're going to talk about that in a little bit. But I promise. And obviously, though, and I am curious about this as well with this, because this is still inside baseball. Your goal for this book wasn't that high, which is super interesting. And I think your goal was what, $650, I want to say?
Yeah, only because I already had a successful Indiegogo.
And so obviously talking about that as well, where it is a complicated thing figuring out what price you should set a goal at
Hmm.
and what you actually need, what you don't need, what you need to be taken a little bit seriousness, but also, setting a goal knowing that you're going to break that, because it's the idea that if you put all the effort into a Kickstarter project and then you don't fund, but you put all this effort in, you don't get anything on Kickstarter. And so what was that like, figuring out sweet spot? And someone is going to be 666, but that's just me personally.
So, I mean, first when it came to Indiegogo, I came out of pocket for everything, and I didn't mind. I wanted to get the book was going to get printed no matter what. I just wanted to reach other people that some don't go to conventions, so they wouldn't see my product, and I just wanted to show people my product. And yeah, I funded on Indiegogo. It was really good. And then I know some people don't use Indiegogo, and that's why I made the Kickstarter.
So to even talk about this, because obviously I use Indiegogo, I use Kickstarter, I don't play politics. I will speak to anybody and everybody, and I have on all parts of it. And I was just on a show, and I made a statement that they were completely shocked by. And that, obviously the statement was slightly right, but I think that they didn't understand the point of the statement about how everybody reads comics on both sides of the aisle. And if you don't believe me, look at how much money Breitbart made off of Clinton cash. And then we'll have a real conversation about that. And when you see the actual number, and I actually do know that number off the top of my head, you'll be like, oh, snap, I wish I did that instead. But the point is that it is interesting because and correct me if I'm wrong, you view Indiegogo and Kickstarter almost like an order form for your book. It
Pretty
seems
much. Yeah.
where a bunch of other people don't view it that way. And this is I think a big, I don't want to say a debate, but there's a big divide what Kickstarter and Indiegogo is and what crowdfunding is versus how it's being used, and then also how people are using it as a business. And there's three things where crowdfunding is the idea where you're, in the name Kickstarter, is that you kickstart your project. Everybody pools their money together to produce an item that everybody gets to enjoy. That's the purpose of crowdfunding. And then some people say, look, this is a business where I need to have X amount of money in it, but then I'm raising money to complete it, or now I'm paying myself back and I'm getting it elsewhere, and then I'm getting myself a paycheck. Or what you're doing and a few other people like Ozzy and Longoria does is it's an order form. And so what is that like for you, and what is that like for you in this space? Because you're not technically new to Kickstarter, just this is your first one that you're running. And same thing with Indiegogo, because IndieVolt's done some stuff involving stuff on both platforms before.
Mm-hmm. Like I said, the book was going to come out no matter what. I just wanted to reach people. Some people, I mean, there's people all over the place, and some people will never see me at a show. And that's a good way to reach a different audience. You got your audience that only looks at crowdfunding campaigns. Then you got your audience that only goes to conventions. So I want to reach as many people as possible and show them what I have.
And then also you have people like me where sometimes I have money and sometimes I don't. And if I go to a con, I'll do one or two cons a year, and I'm bringing 10, not 10, no, more like $1,000 to $1,500, and I'm more likely to buy certain indie books because that's when I have money and I save up all year, where I'm throwing $125, $150 for legitimately 10 months straight into an envelope. And maybe I'm not backing everything on Kickstarter. And, I'm also more likely to buy something at a con. And that's the other thing. And then also where I'm going, I don't know if I'm going to be ever going back to a convention, but, I'm obviously burned out, and I had some bad experiences at my last 2 or 3 cons that I attended. And so I might never go back. I'm actually, this is the first time I'm actually ever making money online through podcasting and, obviously doing some other stuff. in the middle of COVID, in the middle of what is known as hell, essentially for the world.
Yes.
And, I've lost money at cons, presenting. I've never been treated, I feel, with respect. And so this is the first time I've ever feeling that I'm appreciated and that there's a little bit of respect to me. And it's kind of crazy where I might never go back. And so the only way for me to get certain people's books is obviously through crowdfunding.
Mm-hmm.
And I have no problem doing that. I just wish that you people would do it faster and actually out me my books. There are books that I am waiting for like 9 months now, and I am getting antsy. I'm not happy.
As soon as this Kickstarter is over, which is next Friday at 8:22 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and I get the money, the books are going to the printer. The print files are ready.
Yes, that's important. That's very, very important, I feel.
And I already talked to my printer to make sure they will have the paper.
That's also very important because I don't know how many people saw it. I put it up on my Facebook page. Image has basically said they're not doing second prints for certain books.
A lot of the major companies are saying that right now.
Except Gun Honey is on its third print for that Adam Hughes cover.
Okay.
So go figure that one out, everybody. Go figure that one out. Yeah, I'm just saying it's so weird what's going on, but it's a real concern.
It is.
I don't know how you feel. Obviously, Mixum is a sponsor of mine, so I'm well aware of what's going on with them. I know what's going on with Comics Wellsprings and a variety of other people, and a lot of people.
I'm using two different people. So Mixum is a sponsor of Indie Vote as well. And I'm actually using Comics Wellspring for two of my books, Lore and the Fetish book. And then Mixum is going to be printing my unsolicited book that was on the Indiegogo campaign.
Yeah, because Comics Wellspring, from my understanding, won't print certain books.
They won't print books that contain actual pictures of adult material. And Unsolicited is a book full of dick pics that I got sent. So
nice. you really should talk to Jordan Grace. She made a book about people sending her DMs, and not nice DMs saying, "Hey, I really liked your match." She didn't put that in the book because that's not interesting. Or somebody asked her for an interview, she didn't put that into the book. But she had an entire book about pretty much all the weird messages she got. And I think it's fun.
So I chose 26 pictures because I have a folder full. And it has the picture, and then it has what the guy said while he was sending the picture.
Hey. Whoever wants to buy that, be my guest. I'm not going to stop anybody.
There were a few people. I mean, I had I didn't do it on Kickstarter, but for the Indiegogo, there was 14 people are getting that book.
It's kind of funny. Oh, there goes my career. So clearly that just ended. There goes my career. And my sponsorship while we're at it. So clearly, this would be a great time for a live read. And I'm sure my person's going to appreciate this so much. So I am very, very, very interested in this book now, in which but I am definitely not going to be buying it. It's not my cup of tea. I don't swing that way. I'm letting everybody know. You might think I do, but I don't. I really do not want to look at a bunch of dicks. But I might order it for my friend. It just said it right to him, and then right from Dad.
I went to a con like a month ago, and I met one of my supporters, a fan of mine, and he had got all 3 books from the Indiegogo. He got Lord, the Fetish book, and Unsolicited. He's like, I can't wait for the books, but Don't think I got unsolicited because I want it. I'm giving it to my wife.
I have a semi-homophobic friend, so this is perfect for him for his birthday. But what I'll do is I'll write from dad.
I'll have to make sure I print a few extras, and then I'll send you one.
I'll happily pay you. It'll be a great gift. It'll be so funny. And the thing is that me and my friends will crowdfund the gift to my other friend. Oh, it'll be great. It'll be great. It's like sending him some gummy dicks from. That's a good one too. That's a good joke for you.
Oh,
and then the same company has a card that you open it up, and what comes out is like powdered, like something that looks like snow, and it says, let it snow, and then you open up the card and all of the stuff falls out, and then it's on you.
That's awesome.
But anyway, we're gonna get to rewards, but I do need to remind everybody that my friend LK Ingenio has a Kickstarter going on. It's a great book. It's about 1/3 funded, and it's about a telepathic vampiric cat in a Victorian town in the mid-1800s just wants to eat. Meanwhile, a conflicted ex-colonel just wants to do the right thing. And what happens when he becomes enthralled to Fang? Well, that's Fangs and Foul Play is right now live on Kickstarter. I've actually read the first issue. It is so interesting. It is PG-13, so it is a perfect book to back after you back this book on Kickstarter, because this way you go from going really dark to a very playful and energetic and very cat-friendly comic, and you're also getting a little bit of that darkness, but you're tearing down. And so obviously it is a very, very cool book, and she is a fantastic writer. And obviously you can get issue 0 and issue 1. Shipping's included as well for $15. It's a pretty low cost in the US. So obviously check that out. I'm going to put that stuff in the comments and that link in the comments for those to back it. And
yeah, I'll
really
have to
cool
check
book.
that one out.
Go support that book, and obviously I want people to continue to give me money for live reads, because I would like to have my Frappuccino tomorrow, and I am poor. And so please go buy live reads with me, because it helps me eat, but more importantly, actually back people's Kickstarters, because those things matter. And obviously, let's talk about rewards here. And so there's a lot of stuff going out with the rewards. Obviously, the PDF is pretty affordable for starters, which I appreciate that tremendously, because I'm broke, and when I want to read comics, well, PDFs are the way to go.
Yeah.
And so what was that like, making sure the PDF was affordable? Because no offense, and take this the right way, your Kickstarter really tears up quickly in price.
It does. The PDF I thought about how much I would pay for a PDF. And then I also looked at other campaigns to get an idea how much they were charging for their page count and everything. And I thought 15 was a reasonable price for an 80-page book.
Yeah, I think a 24-page for me, and this is just my take, it's $5 to $6 is what I'm willing to pay on a 24-page or even a 36-pager. And the reason why is that I get a 72-page from Zenescope for $6.49 on previews in a physical copy. And I understand with Kickstarter, I'm paying for not just the PDF, but I'm also supporting an artist. And there's a little bit of a premium added to that, I feel. And so obviously I'm willing to pay a little bit more for that. And obviously if you're going to give me 80 pages along those same lines, I think 15 is fair game. And obviously you're also not paying for shipping and a variety of other stuff. So I think that's very, very important. And then we tear up real quick though, where the physical copy starts getting expensive. So obviously there's the physical copy, and then I think there is also an exclusive cover. And just to give an idea here, this is what I think the regular copy looks like.
Yes, that's the original cover.
Then there's this right here. So obviously that's the physical copy and what that costs. And then we get into this book right here. So the fetish is A to Z. And so this is both books. And so what's the story behind the fetishes from A to Z?
I thought it would be fun to do an adult ABC book, and I decided to do it on fetishes. So each letter of the alphabet has a different fetish, and I had different artists draw the fetish.
It's kind of fun. So,
They
so,
had fun.
so
Everyone that did a page in the book had a lot of fun, and they're like, if you ever do another one, hit me up, and
so,
I am doing another one.
so what is, how do you even go find an artist? Be like, hey, I'm doing this thing here. It's a fetish book. Do you just want to throw it out there? And like, how do you even send like an email to somebody like
I
that?
was straightforward. I was like, I have this adult book that I'm looking for artists for it. It's an A to Z fetish book. I have a list of fetishes that you can choose from. Are you interested? I was straight to the point.
I don't know. I mean, I wouldn't even know where to start with that. So there you go right there. So, and then obviously this is cool too, because this is Daphne Lake's cover. Hopefully I got her last name right. Hopefully.
Like,
And
her last name is Lage. Daphne
ah,
Lage.
sorry, I try. It's been a while
No,
since.
it's good.
So what is the story behind this? Because this is cool now because obviously you have a variant cover. There are people who collect just variant covers. There are people also say, hey, look, I want, not to sound mean about it, but I want a higher sort of rare cover that technically less people are going to get. Technically is the theory behind variants because it's $10 more. And I don't think you have a cap per se on your books. But statistically, I think people are going to get the Daphne's cover a lot less than the
Oh
cover A.
yes. Yep. Um, the reason I did that because I had an exclusive for Indiegogo. Some people might remember it was a photo of me, so the photo cover of me that you could only get on Indiegogo, and I also wanted to have something different for Kickstarter, so me and Daphne are really good friends, and I asked her to do it for me.
And then obviously this is out there too. So obviously you get a bundle of everything together.
Yes,
And then this is the cool thing I think in a lot of ways as well, where obviously at retail, and I think it's about five
it
for each
is.
book. So
Yep.
what is
Uh,
that like? Because I think this is a mistake that people make, and obviously I sort of pick up a few books every year to sell on my eBay store from Kickstarter, and I'm going through that experience now where I'm a semi-retailer, I guess technically, because I'm reselling books. It's not easy. For an eBay store, I
yeah.
just sold one of them. Of my books, it was Travis Gibb, and his Voodoo Nations book, and
Okay.
I took the risk because my upside is about $90. That ran me on 35. So obviously, for me, that's a good deal because there's a lot of money to be made. But what is that like to sell to retail cheaper and also make sure that they're taken care of? Because from my understanding, some stores want to sell indie, some don't. Also, it's price point. And look, people are into some crazy shit, for lack of a better word, and they're getting sick of the same old, same old. And somebody might say, hey, look, I want something that's a little bit different, that's a little more edgier,
Mhm.
that is thought provoking.
It was actually just people asking me why I didn't do a retail tier on my Indiegogo. So I figured I'd do it on my Kickstarter and see what happened. Um, but with Liberty, it's going to get distributed by Liberty anyway, so retailers can pick it up through Liberty as well.
Yeah, that's important. And my understanding of shops is that it is complicated to sell indie books in comic shops. and some do it better than others, and some understand it. And it is a long road, I think, for indie, but I think it's going to get there in the next 5 years, hopefully, a lot easier. I really do, because it's just the nature of it is changing. Hopefully,
Yeah, I mean, Liberty is doing well. So we've had a lot of support from stores and other places, and I can't complain.
again, I'm not a comic, dealer and all that stuff. So at least not yet. Not yet. I'm not.
Yeah, Liberty is my husband's baby, and I mean, I do help, but he thought about the plan. He had a plan worked up and all that, and it took him what 5 or 6 years. He originally created Liberty about 5 or 6 years ago, and it took a lot of planning and stuff, but it's doing good now.
Yeah, no, I don't know anything about distribution. My business model and the way I want to deal with it is I don't like dealing with middlemen. Personally,
Hmm.
in my world, I hate dealing with middlemen, and I don't want to, and I want to sell direct to consumer.
Hmm.
Just because I like that model a hell of a lot better. I also like control. I wouldn't mind having, distribution after I do all my direct to consumer positions, but
Yeah.
again, I'm not into comics yet, and I don't know if I publish my first book. There's two books I want to write. One of them is going to be a fun book to write, and the other is definitely going to require a lot of research about the burn pits in Iraq.
Okay.
So really, really deep stuff. And I know the company that I want to do it through, which is Dead Reckoning, which is
Okay.
the Navy Press Institute's comic division, and they're a big think tank dealing
Okay.
with Navy press issues and things like that. So I have a good relationship with them still. Not after this interview though. Not after this interview. So
Oh no, this interview is not bad. You know what you're getting into.
I knew exactly what I was getting into. I knew exactly. So and then obviously we have the VIP package, which is all this stuff. And so
Yes.
there's pretty much everything in here. I don't even know what's in here, but
So
a
you get
shirt, a bottle
both.
opener.
Yeah, you get both covers of lore. You get fetishes A to Z. You get your name in the book as a supporter. You get a Shocker Comics T-shirt. You get the bottle opener key and Blair's ring, and you get an exclusive print done by Sean Howe.
A lot of stuff. And then speaking about exclusivity, obviously some original art. You're not getting both of these for the same tier. You're getting, just a few different packages with that. So
Yes.
obviously one of them is the print, and then one of them is the cover.
Yeah, for 350 you get the lore book with the Daphne Leitch cover on it. You get the original art for the cover, and you get the original art for the print.
So a lot of cool stuff for that. And then obviously this right here is pretty cool too. Varian did something very cool with this one as well. And this is just pretty much everything that's VIP plus some original art.
Yes.
And then this is obviously the print, and I think everybody is getting this. The print is not $650. I want to make that crystal clear.
If you scroll up on the campaign, you'll see stretch goals, and that was the first stretch goal that
I
got
just
unlocked.
want to make it clear before we get into too much trouble here. This is unlocked, and every physical backer is getting this
Yes.
at the moment. I just want to make that crystal clear for those who are understanding. If you would like to pay her $650, she'll take your money.
I'll take it. I wouldn't mind.
So I'm just saying that if you would like to pay $650 for that, you can. It will be yours. But obviously, and then there's a bunch of other stretch goals as well.
Yeah.
I think there's some like a pin. Is the pin unlocked yet?
As of right now, it is.
I went on your Kickstarter like 2 days ago, and on the stretch goal it still said it was locked, but it looked like it
I
was.
haven't. Okay, so I haven't put the unlocked ones just yet because My numbers are fluctuating at the moment.
Oh, no. I'm not asking to challenge. I'm just saying that some people update every 3 days their numbers just because it's just easier sometimes. Where, when I run mine and things unlock, you could be in a situation where every 5 minutes you're unlocking. I've been part of
Yeah.
Kickstarters that on the first day, like 5 goals got unlocked and the person didn't update until like 3 days later just because it made no sense to have to keep doing it.
Yep.
So obviously, I understand that first and foremost. And then obviously, there's just prints, foil stickers, a few other things I think are going to be unlocked. I'm not too sure
The
what
custom
we're going to
condom.
get here.
You got the custom condom.
Yes, safe sex is very important. Very important, guys. You don't
But I do not take responsibility for the condom at all.
you don't want to be getting the clap here, for lack of a better word. You could put that any which way you would want to, but it's not fun. And I'm just going to let you go that route, And I don't want anybody to assume anything here. I'm just saying you don't want it.
No.
I practice safe sex all the time, so very, very important, very important. In that regard, and also it makes sort of sense with what's going on in this book. So that's important, and I think that's a really important thing about stretch goals is that stretch goals, and I appreciate when campaigns do stretch goals that actually match the book.
That's what I tried to do. Like the key and the ring that are add-ons, they're in the book. You'll see them in the book.
Yeah, it changes it because Kickstarter is an experience in a lot of ways. My Kickstarter that's not approved, apparently, it's going to be very much an experience, and stretch goals are an experience. Mm-hmm. And I got some cool stuff coming, guys. So that's all I'm going to say. And obviously, though, a lot of stuff's going on. I don't want to ruin any more that's happening in your book, but I do want to talk about, obviously, Indie Volt we sort of touched upon. A lot of stuff's going on with Indie Volt. You guys are extremely busy over there. 4 shows a week. You guys produce like 10. So
will we bring back the other shows? Because some shows are getting revamped right now. We'll have a show every day of the week.
Sorry. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on with that. A lot of interesting projects going on, and super, super interesting what you guys are doing. I may or may not be launching a 3rd show that you guys haven't touched yet, and I do not want you to steal. So please don't, because it's like I only have like 2 shows right now, and if you take my 3rd show, because my first show is on hiatus, I'm going to be very upset. Very upset.
We already have the premise for all our shows, so we're just working on them right now.
If you steal and add an 8th one at some point and steal my idea, I'm going to be very upset when I do it. So I'm just letting you know. I'm going to tell you after what my idea is, and you're not going to steal it. So, but anyhow, enough of that.
Then, real quick, if anybody listening wants to meet the Indie Volt crew, mine is Randy, because most people know Randy is still in the hospital battling COVID. We will be in Grand Rapids, Michigan, the 12th through the 14th.
Is that a con date?
It is. Yep.
Is that Motor City or Grand Rapids?
Grand Rapids. It's Grand Rapids. Grand Rapids Comic-Con.
I don't know all these cons.
So and my husband is in the chat.
So yeah. Oh, that's good. That's good. That's good. Now I know who my competition is. Clearly, we'll see how it goes. I don't think you guys are going to steal my idea though, because it's a good one. But anyway, having said all that, and I was going to give you a chance to promote, but I'm going to give you a chance to promote it in a few seconds here. But I am curious, And obviously, COVID in my world is still in effect in a lot of ways, and we don't really know what the hell's going to happen with it. We also don't know the after effects. And I don't
Yeah.
mean medically, I mean how the entire industry works, how conventions work. New York Comic Con seemed to go off well, but at the same time, I don't know what profitability looked like. I don't know what networking looked like. I don't know what, it looks, people say they had a great time at New York Comic Con, which is probably the biggest con that's happened in the COVID era. But at the same time, it was also New York Comic Con light. And it's
There wasn't that many people. They weren't sold out of tickets. Every con I've gone to this year, because we've done a few, the attendance was like half of what it normally is, but people were spending.
Yeah.
All our shows we've gone to, we've had good shows, even though it was half the attendance.
Because what I'm concerned about, and obviously I'm very in tune with economics and finance and a variety of other stuff, is that obviously in the U.S. government, funding stuff has ended, checks have stopped, economic downturns. We're entering Christmas, November, December now, and we're entering a whole different economy. Not to mention that things are getting a little bit tighter economically. In the next, I would say, probably 8 weeks is going to be very rough. Just it always is this time of year. I find that July always is a rough time of the year, also in comics. And so I'm really curious where you even think cons are going and what's going to happen, because I don't really know. And obviously, I'm in a very different camp because this is the first time I've ever made money online with my show in 8 years that I've been doing this, and stopped going to cons, selling more on eBay, and obviously making more connections and networking without ever having to go to cons. I might be one of the only people who successfully networked in the comic world, having never produced a comic online without meeting 90% of the people that I'm in contact with, which is a crazy circumstance in a lot of ways. And I've become very effective at it, and I'm doing great. So for me, I don't know if I'm ever going to go back to a con. And so I'm curious where you think they're going, if you even have an idea.
They're always going to be here. There's always going to be people that want to go to these shows. Yeah, like I said, the cons that we've gone to recently over the last couple months, people were there. People were buying indie stuff. A lot of people are eating up the indie books. So I think we're seeing a shift right now at the cons, where normally it's people buy all the prints and other merch. And from what I've seen, a lot of people now are buying indie books.
Yeah, well, I have a vested interest in everybody buying indie, but that's because I want to short all the big stuff that DC and Marvel's doing. And believe me, I can short a comic book, and I've done it. So I have a big bet coming on all that stuff. And so I make a lot of money on eBay by selling and flipping comics, and I thoroughly enjoy it. It's a very, very fun sport for me. Indie's a bit trickier right now. That's a whole different discussion for a different day. That's like a 9-hour discussion with somebody. If anybody wants to interview me about that for 9 hours, I legitly will go on and we can talk about the entire comic book investing world collectively, except NFTs, because I don't get NFTs all that much. But I digress. So even talking about indie, though, obviously I'm curious how you feel about where Kickstarter is and Indiegogo is, because I find them to be oversaturated right now tremendously.
In a way, yeah. But you got to find a way to stand out from everybody else. I mean, everybody is running to Kickstarter and Indiegogo right now.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people, but just find a way to stand out. Be different from everybody else. Try to put out something that's unique.
I also think that a lot creators need to take over their marketing, and they need to learn how to treat this like a business and not treat it like a hobby. And I think you guys at Indie Volt, and obviously you do, Varian does it well, and a few other people I know. But I know a lot of people who haven't done a P&L statement and haven't done anything like this. And I think that it's very, very important to start treating it like a business. This, to me, is a business. My entire comic book eBay stuff is a business. And while I'm a sole proprietary and I don't have any employees, it is ran like a militant business. It's a fun business. Don't get me wrong. But
sometimes.
so I enjoy comics because I enjoy buying and selling comics collectively because it's cool to look at art. I hold on to it. I'm like, oh man, throw it up on Instagram and then I sell it and then I'm making money. And then, I get to go find a new item. And so for me, that's the fun element of it. And then every once in a while, I keep one of these things for myself and I say, well, I can't sell it. I have personal books. You all do. There's nothing wrong with that. And then also doing the interviews, the fun part, marketing it, finding sponsors, making sure people show up. That stuff is
it's a
somewhat
job.
not hard, but it's a pain in the ass sometimes.
You gotta treat it like a job. Like if you wouldn't go to, let's say, a Walmart or whatever and do some of the stuff that you're doing with your comic business, don't do it. You got to treat it like a job.
Yeah, no. People don't understand that I am working on this thing 6 days a week, 6 days a week, sometimes 7. And I mean, I pretty much from about 8 o'clock to 11 o'clock on Friday, Saturday, and Monday, every night I'm writing interviews. This is not so when people are watching, WWE, or they're watching their favorite anime, or they're reading their favorite comic book, or they're spending time with their girlfriend or boyfriend or their wife or their husband, or they're spending time with their kids, having a good time and playing on the Xbox. I'm busy writing and I'm working my ass off, and there's a reason why I'm here where I'm at, and I'm not anywhere where I want to be. But I don't think people understand that you have to push like this, and it is hard.
And you gotta make sacrifices.
And
me and my husband, we have an 11-year-old, and he knows what we do, and he understands that we can't play video games together all the time or play with toys all the time together. We'll make time, but right now mom and dad are working.
Yeah, and I think people don't understand sacrifices, and it irks me a lot in that space with when people don't know where I've been and don't know what I've gone. And I mean, this is 8 years in the making for me, and it's been a long 8 years, and I'm now starting to figure things out. That legitimately, my sponsorship thing is about 3 months old, so I am brand new into this. This is not something that it came out of the woodwork for me, and it just came randomly into me, and then I'm pursuing, and I got some other cool stuff coming down the road, probably in February this year and then June. But enough about me. Obviously, my show is all about me, but it's about my guests too.
My other half says something else. He wants to have you on an episode of Special Issues.
Great. We should get Larry in there too. That'll be fun. No, we should not. We should not do that.
Larry has been on Special Issues before.
We should not do that because I'm getting sick of Blue Shirt guy tremendously.
I see that he put that in the chat. He said, "What? No blue shirt?"
I'm getting really sick of it, and it's getting.
I was gonna ask you that. I was gonna say, "Where's your blue shirt?"
Getting really old, and I just won't be on that show anymore if it continues. I'll just leave politely, and I'll be done. Except Larry should back off, because in the middle of the Ben Dunn interview, I kept bringing up Naomi, giving him probably the biggest plug ever. So you should have paid me for that. You should send me a copy of Naomi for free for that. He really should. Except shipping from Canada sucks. It's like $50 to ship from Canada. It's horrific. But I digress. I digress on that too. I do want to give you an opportunity for self-promotion. So you got a lot of stuff going on. Where can people find lore? When can people find, obviously, Volt, Shocker Comics, obviously support you on social media, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook pages, and anything else that's coming out, because there's a lot of stuff and a lot of moving parts.
Okay. So if you want to follow me and see what I'm up to, best way to do that is go to Linktree indie_princess, just like my name says right there. You'll find all my links there, where to track me down at. If you want to pick a copy lore up, go to Kickstarter right now. You have until the 12th at 8:22 p.m. Eastern Standard Time to get a copy of it. IndieVolt, there's a lot of things. So IndieVolt has the website, indievolt.com. Then you can find IndieVolt on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. We have a radio station. You can go on the Google Play Store and look up IndieVolt Radio. You'll find an app there. If you have an Apple product, find it using Streama or TuneIn. And then we have the Roku channel. So if you want to see independent movies, special interviews, stuff like that, go to IndieVolt Roku channel. And then also check out Liberty Entertainment Distribution, ledg.us.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff. So pretty much if you type in IndieVolt or lore on Kickstarter, you're gonna pretty much pull up all that stuff. So if you don't remember anything that the Indie Princess just said, just type in IndieVolt. Yeah. And then you'll figure it out real quick, because everything can be accessed off your website, really.
Yeah, if you just type in IndieVolt into Google, you'll be good to go. Yeah.
So obviously, and I've been saying this on anything you say, you have to support indie comics. And what that means is that you got to back people on Kickstarter. You got to back them on Indiegogo. You know, if you miss both those things and they have it at a convention, you should buy it there. If they have it on their store website, you should get it there. Shoot somebody a DM on Facebook or Twitter. Be like, hey, I want to buy your book. Do you have any extra? They might, and then they might figure out how to get you your book, and it'll all work. If you send that, you won't wind up in the dick pic book. If you ask for it, it'd be really ridiculous.
Hey, if you send me a dick pic, you're going to end up in the book.
But if you ask for the book and you have extras, you might get a copy, and you can just demo or emo. because you should just make a book of people asking you for your book. That's the sequel right there. That's the sequel. But all jokes aside, seriously though, you really do need to support indie content creators, because this is how books get done on the indie scene, and every dollar matters, whether it's digital or physical. It goes a long way.
Even if you pledge a dollar helps out.
Yeah, a dollar helps out tremendously, and it goes a long way. And then even going further than that, once you actually back it, you should share out that you backed it, because that creates a sense of confidence, and it's a vote of confidence. And then going even further into that, let's say that you can't share that because money's tight or you just don't have the funds right now. Just sharing out a Kickstarter or sharing out somebody's website or sharing out an interview goes a tremendous long way as well, because social media is not what it used to be. And so it's very important to go and do that. And, also, even just shooting somebody a message, I get them all the time. So they say, hey, I really enjoyed your interview. I am a fan, and hey, man, I really enjoyed it. It means a lot to me just from that point. So obviously, I appreciate that, and I'm sure that you appreciate that as well. When people just shoot you a message and say, hey, I really enjoyed this book. It goes a long way. As far as I'm concerned, with me, obviously Mixum is a sponsor, so please go use them if you need to print a book. and you need to print a particular book, obviously I like them. They're sponsoring my show, and hopefully they're going to be continuing to sponsor my show because they're the easiest people to deal with on the planet for me. Um, Furthermore, obviously LK Ingino, Thing and Foul Play right now is on Kickstarter. Please go check that project out because it's a really cool project. It's in the comment section down below, and it's scrolling underneath me at the moment. As well as I have Buy Me a Coffee, which is in the description up above beneath the Indie Princesses Kickstarter. So obviously, if you want a live read for the time being, you got a product you want to do that with, you just want to buy me a coffee because you say, hey, I really like your show, or you just want to support me in some fashion, in some way, feel free to go check me out. But more importantly, like, share, comment. I enjoy all that stuff, and it goes a long way for me. And obviously, go back this project, guys. It means a lot to a lot of people. It's a cool book. It's an 80-pager, and I don't think you'll be disappointed with it. And if you are, well, you might just learn something new, and you might enjoy something, and maybe you'll figure out a new fetish out of your life. I don't know. So on that note, I'm going to give you the final word or words.
Yeah, well, thanks for having me on the show, first of all. I really appreciate it. I had a lot of fun. And guys, go check out Lore. You only got a couple days. If you can't back it, please share it out so other people can see it. I would really appreciate it. And then, yeah, go check out Indie Vote and Liberty Entertainment Distribution. We got a lot going on.
Yeah, go check them out. And I think that is a wrap.